Gloria Reeves had two alarm clocks. The first one rang at 4:30 am. The second one rang at 4:35 am in case she slept through the first, which she never did because Gloria had not truly slept deeply in 20 years. Sleep for her was not rest. It was a brief pause between shifts. She was 57 years old. Her hair was more grey than black now, pulled back in a braid that she pinned flat against her head every morning with the same 3 bobby pins she had been reusing for a year. Her hands were the most honest part of her. They were rough, cracked at the knuckles, stained with years of bleach and dish soap and industrial cleaning solution. The lines in her palms were deep enough to hold water. She had tried hand cream once, a small bottle Rachel from the restaurant had given her for Christmas. It burned so badly against the cracks that she gave it away the next day. Every morning she followed the same routine. She woke in her one-bedroom apartment on Maple Street, a ground-floor unit with thin walls and a kitchen window that looked out onto a parking lot. She made instant coffee in a chipped mug. She ate one piece of toast with butter. She dressed in the dark because the overhead bulb had burned out 3 weeks ago, and she had not yet bought a replacement because a 2-pack of bulbs cost $4, and $4 was a gallon of milk and half a loaf of bread. At 5:15, she walked 7 blocks to the Greenleaf Diner, where she washed dishes, mopped floors, and prepped vegetables until 2 p.m. She earned $9.25 an hour, plus a free meal that she always took in a container to eat later at home, because eating at the diner meant sitting down, and sitting down meant slowing down, and slowing down was a luxury Gloria could not afford. At 3 p.m, she took a bus across town to Hargrove Office Plaza, where she cleaned offices until 11 p.m. She vacuumed carpets, emptied trash cans, scrubbed bathrooms, and wiped desks that belonged to people who earned in an hour what she earned in a week. She worked alone on the 7th floor. Nobody talked to her. Most of the office workers had gone home by the time she arrived, and the few who stayed late looked through her like she was part of the furniture. She got home at midnight. She showered. She checked her phone for messages. She counted whatever cash she had and divided it mentally. Rent, electricity, groceries, bus pass, and the rest into the savings account she kept at the credit union on 5th Street. That savings account was the reason for everything. Every skipped meal, every aching joint, every hour of sleep she did not get, all of it flowed into that account like water into a well. Because that account was not for Gloria. It never had been. It was for Marcus. Marcus David Reeves was born on a rainy September morning in 1992. Gloria was 22 years old, unmarried, and alone. The father, a man named Dale, who had promised her the world and delivered nothing, had left 3 months before the baby came. He said he was not ready. He said he needed space. He said he would send money. He never did. Gloria's mother, Betty, helped for the first 2 years. She watched Marcus while Gloria worked. She taught Gloria how to stretch a dollar until it screamed. She told Gloria that poverty was a condition, not a character, that being broke did not mean being broken. Betty died of a stroke when Marcus was 3. After that, Gloria was truly alone. She raised Marcus in a series of small apartments, each one slightly worse than the last. She worked jobs that no one wanted: cleaning, dishwashing, laundry services, night shifts at a warehouse packing boxes during the holiday season. She never complained, at least not out loud. She saved every receipt, tracked every penny, and kept a small notebook in her dresser drawer where she recorded her monthly savings like a captain logging a ship's course through a storm. Marcus was a bright child. Teachers noticed it early. He read 2 grade levels ahead by the time he was 8. He won the school science fair at 11. He scored in the top 5% on every standardized test the district administered. His guidance counselor told Gloria that Marcus had exceptional potential and should be thinking about college. Gloria already was. The night of Marcus's 8th grade graduation, a small ceremony in the school gymnasium with folding chairs and a sheet cake from the grocery store, Gloria took Marcus to the diner after her shift. It was 11:30 p.m. The diner was nearly empty. They sat in a booth by the window and shared a plate of pancakes. Gloria looked at her son across the table. He was 14, tall for his age, skinny, wearing a button-down shirt she had found at the thrift store for $3. He had her eyes, dark, steady, watchful. But he had something she never had, opportunity. She could see it in him the way a farmer sees rain coming over the horizon. She took his hands, her rough, cracked hands holding his smooth young ones. She told him she was going to make him a promise. She told him that no matter what it took, no matter how many hours she had to work or how many years she had to save, she was going to put him through college. And if he wanted to go further, medical school, law school, whatever he dreamed, she would find a way. She told him the only thing she asked in return was that he never forget where he came from, that he never be ashamed of the hands that built him. Marcus looked at her with tears in his eyes and said, "I promise, Mama." Gloria held on to that promise for the next 20 years like a rope in the dark. Marcus graduated high school with a 4.1 GPA. He was accepted to the state university with a partial academic scholarship that covered tuition but not housing, books, food, or the 100 invisible costs that universities never advertise. Gloria covered the rest. She took on a third job, weekend cleaning at a church, to make the numbers work. She sent Marcus $300 a month, which was roughly a third of her income. She told him it was from a college fund she had been building for years. She did not tell him that the fund was just a savings account she fed by skipping meals, wearing shoes until the soles peeled away, and keeping the heat at 58 degrees in the winter because anything higher made the gas bill unmanageable. Marcus thrived. He majored in biology. He joined the Pre-Med Honor Society. He volunteered at the campus health clinic. His professors wrote letters of recommendation that used words like remarkable and once in a generation. He was accepted to medical school at 22, a prestigious program 400 miles away. The letter came in the mail, and Gloria read it standing in her kitchen at midnight after her shift, still wearing her cleaning uniform, and cried so hard that her neighbour knocked on the wall to ask if she was all right. Medical school was 4 years, then residency, then specialization. Gloria kept sending money. She did not know how she did it. She stopped eating breakfast entirely. She wore the same 3 outfits on rotation for 6 years. She had not seen a dentist in 9 years. She had not been to a doctor in 7. When her knee started hurting so badly that she limped through her cleaning shifts, she wrapped it in an elastic bandage from the dollar store and kept going. She did not keep track of the total amount she sent Marcus over the years. She did not want to know the number, because knowing the number might make her wonder if it was worth it, and she could not afford that doubt. The money was an offering. You do not count offerings. You just give. Marcus graduated from medical school at 26. He completed his residency in surgery at 29. By 31, Dr. Marcus Reeves was a board-certified surgeon at a private hospital in Ridgemont, a wealthy suburb 90 miles from the apartment on Maple Street, where his mother still washed dishes and scrubbed floors. Gloria went to his medical school graduation. She wore a dress she had bought at a second-hand shop, navy blue, slightly too big, but clean and pressed. She sat in the auditorium surrounded by families in expensive clothes and watched her son walk across the stage. She clapped until her hands burned. She whispered to herself, "We did it, Mama. We did it." She was talking to Betty. After the ceremony, she waited in the lobby for Marcus. When he came out, he was surrounded by classmates and their families. He saw Gloria, he smiled, but he did not come to her immediately. He finished his conversation first. When he finally walked over, he hugged her quickly, the kind of hug you give when you are aware that people are watching. Gloria noticed. She told herself he was just overwhelmed. She told herself it was a big day and he was excited. She told herself the quick hug was enough. It was not enough. But she accepted it, because that was what Gloria had always done. She accepted less than she deserved and called it love. The changes were gradual. So gradual that Gloria almost missed them, the way you almost miss the tide going out, because each wave retreats only a little further than the last. After Marcus moved to Ridgemont, the phone calls went from twice a week to once a week, then once every 2 weeks, then once a month, then only when Gloria called first. The conversations changed too. They became shorter, more polished, less real. Marcus talked about his work, his colleagues, his new car. He did not ask about Gloria's jobs. He did not ask if she needed anything. He spoke to her the way you speak to a distant relative at a holiday dinner, politely, briefly, with one eye on the door. He visited twice in the first year, then once the second year, then not at all. Gloria made excuses for him. He was busy. He was building his career. He was under pressure. Surgeons work long hours. She said these things to herself so many times that they began to sound true. Then Marcus met Vivian. Vivian Carter came from old money. Her father was a retired judge. Her mother chaired the board of a private school. They lived in a house with columns and a circular driveway and the kind of lawn that looked like it had never been stepped on. Vivian was beautiful, polished, and accustomed to a world where people like Gloria existed only in the background, cleaning, serving, invisible. Marcus brought Vivian to meet Gloria once. Just once. They drove down on a Sunday afternoon. Vivian wore a cream-coloured dress and heels that were not designed for the cracked sidewalk outside Gloria's apartment building. She smiled politely. She looked around the apartment the way a health inspector looks around a restaurant kitchen. She touched nothing. She ate nothing. She stayed 45 minutes. On the drive home, Gloria learned this much later. Vivian told Marcus that his mother's living situation was concerning and asked if she had other family who could help. Marcus did not defend his mother. He did not explain the 20 years of sacrifice. He did not describe the 2 alarm clocks, the 3 jobs, the skip meals, the elastic bandage on the knee. He simply said, "She's fine. She likes living simply." And that was the moment Marcus began to erase Gloria from his new life. When colleagues asked about his family, he said his mother had passed away years ago. When Vivian's parents asked, he said the same thing. He crafted a tragic backstory, orphaned young, self-made, pulled himself up by his bootstraps. People admired him for it. They saw a man who had overcome hardship alone. He did not overcome anything alone. Gloria was the foundation. He just poured cement over her and called the building his own. Gloria did not know about the lies. Not yet. She only knew the silence, the calls that stopped, the visits that ended, the birthday card she sent every September that was never acknowledged. She told herself he was busy. She told herself a mother's love does not require receipts. But at night, alone in her apartment, she sat at the kitchen table and stared at the only framed photograph she owned. Marcus at his medical school graduation, cap and gown, smiling, and she felt something she could not name. It was not anger. It was the particular heartbreak of a woman who gave everything and received silence in return. Gloria found out about the wedding from a Facebook post. She did not have a Facebook account herself. A co-worker at the diner, a young woman named Keisha, showed her the post on her phone during a break. Keisha had searched Marcus's name out of curiosity after Gloria mentioned her son was a doctor. The post was from Vivian's account. An engagement photo, Marcus and Vivian on a beach somewhere warm, her hand on his chest, a diamond ring catching the light. The caption read, "I said yes to my best friend, my soulmate, and my self-made man. June 14th. Here we come. Self-made man." Gloria stared at the photo for a long time. Keisha asked if she was okay. Gloria said yes. She went back to washing dishes. She did not speak for the rest of her shift. That night she called Marcus. He did not answer. She called again the next morning. He picked up on the 4th ring. She said she had heard about the engagement. She said she was happy for him. She asked about the wedding. There was a pause on the line, a long one. Then Marcus said the wedding was going to be small, very small, just close friends and Vivian's family. He said it was not the kind of event where, and here he paused again, choosing his words carefully, where she would be comfortable. Gloria asked what he meant. He said the venue was formal, black tie. He said it was in Ridgemont at Vivian's family's country club. He said Gloria would not know anyone there. He said he did not want her to feel out of place. Gloria listened to her son explain, in the most diplomatic language he could find, that she was not invited to his wedding because she was poor. She did not yell. She did not beg. She asked one question. She asked if he had told Vivian about her. about who she really was. The silence that followed told her everything. Marcus finally said that Vivian knew his mother had a difficult life, but that the details were complicated, and he had decided it was better to keep things simple. Simple. Her 20 years of sacrifice reduced to a word that meant inconvenient. Gloria said goodbye. She hung up. She sat in the dark for a very long time. The wedding was on a Saturday in June. Gloria knew the date. She knew the venue, the Ridgemont Country Club, a white columned building surrounded by manicured gardens and a golf course that stretched into the hills. She was not planning to go. She had accepted the rejection the way she accepted everything, quietly, with her pain folded neatly inside her chest like laundry she would never put away. But on the morning of the wedding, something changed. She woke at 4:30 as always. She made her coffee. She sat at the kitchen table. And she looked at the photograph of Marcus on the wall, and she realized something that hit her like cold water. She was not angry that he had not invited her. She was angry that she had accepted it. She was angry that she had spent her entire life making herself smaller so that other people could be comfortable. She had shrunk herself for Dale, who left. She had shrunk herself for employers who never learned her name, and now she was shrinking herself for her own son. No more. She did not want to make a scene. She did not want revenge. She wanted one thing, to stand in front of her son and let him see the woman he was erasing. To make him look at her, really look at her, one last time. She ironed her navy blue second-hand dress. She pinned her braid. She put on her only pair of dress shoes, black flats she had bought for Betty's funeral 17 years ago. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. She looked old, tired, and dignified. She took the bus to the edge of Ridgemont. Then she walked the last 2 miles to the country club. The wedding was outdoors, white chairs arranged in perfect rows on a green lawn, flowers everywhere. A string quartet playing something soft and expensive, 200 guests in suits and gowns and hats that cost more than Gloria's rent. Gloria did not sit down. She stood at the edge of the lawn near a stone pillar, partially hidden by a row of hedges. She watched the ceremony from a distance. She saw Marcus standing at the altar in a black tuxedo, smiling, looking like the man she had always dreamed he would become, tall, confident, successful. She saw Vivian walking down the aisle in a white gown that floated like a cloud. She watched her son get married from 50 yards away, standing alone like a stranger at someone else's dream. After the ceremony, the guests moved toward the reception tent. Gloria stepped out from behind the hedge and walked across the lawn toward the entrance. A staff member at the door asked for her name. Gloria said she was the mother of the groom. The staff member looked confused and checked the guest list. Gloria's name was not on it. He said he was sorry, but he could not let anyone in without authorization. He asked her to wait while he checked with the wedding coordinator. But Marcus had already seen her. He was standing near the entrance greeting guests when he looked up and saw Gloria at the door in her second-hand dress and funeral shoes. His face went through 3 expressions in rapid succession: shock, recognition, and then something that Gloria would never forget for as long as she lived. Fear. Not fear of her. Fear that someone might see her. Fear that the careful fiction he had built would collapse. He walked over quickly. He did not hug her. He took her elbow and guided her away from the door to a side path behind the tent. His grip was firm, not violent but controlling. He spoke in a low voice. He asked what she was doing here. He said this was not the time. He said Vivian's family was here, his colleagues were here, people who mattered were here. People who mattered. Gloria looked at her son. She looked at his expensive tuxedo and his polished shoes and his perfectly styled hair, and she saw, for the first time, not the boy she had raised, but the man he had chosen to become. A man who was ashamed of the woman who had made him. She did not raise her voice. She spoke quietly and clearly. She told him she did not come to cause trouble. She came because a mother should see her son get married. She said she would leave in 5 minutes, but first she needed him to know something. She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. She held it out to him. Marcus stared at the envelope. He did not take it. So Gloria opened it herself and pulled out the contents. Inside were 20 years of records. Every money order receipt she had ever sent him. every bank withdrawal slip, every Western Union confirmation, hundreds of them, organized by year, held together with rubber bands. Each one represented a skipped meal, a double shift, a night without heat, a morning without breakfast. She also pulled out a single sheet of lined notebook paper, the page from her savings log where she had finally added up the total. She had done it the night she found out about the wedding. Over 20 years, Gloria Reeves had sent her son $114,000. She had earned it $9.25 an hour. She had earned it on her knees, scrubbing bathroom floors in an office building where no one knew her name. She had earned it standing over a commercial sink for 8 hours a day with her hands in scalding water. She had earned it by choosing every single day for 2 decades to give her son a future instead of giving herself a present. $114,000. Gloria held up the paper so Marcus could see the number. Then she placed it back in the envelope along with all the receipts. She told him she did not want the money back. She never wanted it back. It was a gift. Gifts do not come with invoices. But she wanted him to see it. She wanted him to understand what self-made actually looked like. She wanted him to know that the foundation of his beautiful life was built by a woman in an elastic knee bandage who ate 1 meal a day so he could eat 3. Then she said the words that would stay with Marcus for the rest of his life. She said, "I am not ashamed of who I am, Marcus. I am not ashamed of my hands or my jobs or my apartment. I scrubbed floors so you could stand tall. And if you are ashamed of that, if my sacrifice embarrasses you, then the shame is not mine. It is yours. And no amount of money or success or fancy weddings will wash it off." She put the envelope back in her purse. She straightened her dress. She looked at her son one more time. A long, full look, the kind of look a mother gives when she is seeing her child clearly for the first time and saying goodbye at the same moment. Then she turned and walked back across the lawn, past the white chairs and the flower arrangements and the string quartet, and down the long driveway toward the road. She did not look back. Marcus stood behind the tent in his tuxedo and watched his mother walk away. The envelope was not in his hands, but the weight of it was. From inside the tent, Vivian appeared. She asked who that woman was. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Nobody," but his voice broke on the word. And Vivian, for the first time, noticed that her husband's eyes were wet. Gloria rode the bus home in her navy dress. She sat in the back row with her purse in her lap and watched the city change through the window, the mansions and golf courses giving way to strip malls, then apartment buildings, then the cracked sidewalks of Maple Street. She got home at 9 p.m. She changed into her nightgown. She made instant coffee. She sat at the kitchen table and looked at the photograph on the wall. Marcus in his cap and gown. She did not take it down. Not yet. She was not ready for that. She went to sleep and woke at 4:30 a.m. and went to work. The days that followed were quiet. Marcus did not call. Gloria did not expect him to. Something had ended on that lawn behind the tent. Not her love, a mother's love, does not end, but her willingness to beg for a place in his life. That was over. 3 weeks after the wedding, Gloria received a bank notification. A deposit of $50,000 had been made into her savings account. No note, no call, just money. Gloria stared at the notification for a long time. Then she went to the credit union and transferred the entire amount back. The bank called to confirm the reversal. Gloria said yes. She said the deposit was unauthorized and she did not want it. 2 days later, Marcus called. His voice was different, smaller, uncertain. He asked why she sent the money back. Gloria told him she did not want his money. She told him money was how he solved problems, and she was not a problem to be solved. She told him what she wanted could not be wired through a bank. What she wanted was for her son to be a man who did not hide the woman who made him. Marcus was silent. Gloria said she was not going to beg him to love her publicly. She was not going to demand an invitation to his life. But she was done pretending that his silence did not hurt. She was done being a secret. She told him the door to her apartment was always open, but he would have to walk through it on his own. She would not drag him. Then she hung up. Gloria did something that spring she had never done before. She asked her landlord for permission to use the small patch of dirt behind her apartment building. It was an ugly strip of ground between the building and the parking lot, hard-packed clay littered with cigarette butts and broken glass. Nobody had ever planted anything there. The landlord shrugged and said sure. Gloria cleared the ground by hand. She hauled away the trash. She bought 3 bags of topsoil from the hardware store, on sale, $4 each. She planted tomatoes, herbs, marigolds, and a row of sunflowers along the back fence. She tended the garden every morning before her shift, and every evening after she came home. She watered it with a plastic jug she filled from the kitchen sink. She talked to the plants the way her mother Betty used to talk to hers, softly, encouragingly, as if they were children learning to stand. The neighbours noticed. First it was just glances from windows. Then the woman from the second floor, Mrs. Adkins, came down and asked what Gloria was planting. Then the teenager from the third floor, a quiet boy named Jamal, asked if he could help. Then Keisha from the diner brought over a bag of pepper seedlings her grandmother had started. By July, the ugly strip of dirt was a garden, tomatoes ripening on the vine, sunflowers taller than Gloria, herbs thick enough to fill the air with the smell of basil and rosemary every time the wind blew. It was the most beautiful thing on Maple Street. Gloria started giving away vegetables to her neighbours. She left baskets on doorsteps. She taught Mrs. Adkins how to make tomato sauce from scratch. She showed Jamal how to prune and water and wait. One Saturday evening, she set up a small folding table in the garden and invited the neighbours for tea. 5 people came, then 8, then 12. They sat on borrowed chairs and overturned crates and drank sweet tea from plastic cups and talked. Gloria did not tell her full story that evening, not all of it, but she told them enough. She told them about working 2 jobs, about raising a son alone, about sacrifice and silence and the difference between the two. She told them that sacrifice is beautiful only when it is honoured. When it is ignored or hidden or treated as embarrassment, it becomes something else. It becomes erasure. And no mother, no woman, no human being should accept being erased. She told them that you cannot control how your children turn out. You can feed them, teach them, give them everything you have, and they may still choose to look away. That is their choice. But it does not erase what you gave. Nothing erases what you gave. The receipts exist even if no one reads them. She told them that she used to think love meant making yourself invisible so someone else could shine. She was wrong. Love means standing in full view with your rough hands and your cheap dress and your elastic knee bandage and saying, "This is who I am. I am not ashamed. And if you are, the door is right there." Mrs. Adkins nodded slowly. Jamal looked at his own mother sitting across the table and reached over and held her hand. Keisha wiped her eyes. The garden on Maple Street became a weekly gathering. Every Saturday, sweet tea, vegetables, and truth. On a Sunday morning in September, Marcus's birthday, Gloria woke at 4:30, as always. She made her coffee. She ate her toast. She watered her garden in the early light and watched the sunflowers lean toward the east. At 8 Loam, there was a knock on her door. She opened it. Marcus stood on the doorstep. He was not wearing a suit. He was wearing jeans and a plain T-shirt. He looked tired. He looked like he had been driving for a long time. He was holding a small cardboard box. Inside was a framed photograph, the same graduation picture Gloria had on her wall, but this one had a new inscription on the back. Gloria turned it over and read it. It said, "Everything I am, you built. I am sorry it took me so long to say it. Your son, Marcus." Gloria looked at him. His eyes were red. His lip was trembling. He looked, for the first time in years, like the 14-year-old boy who had sat across from her in a diner booth and promised he would never forget. She did not rush to hug him. She did not cry. She stood in her doorway and looked at the man her son had become. Not the surgeon, not the husband, not the fiction he had created, but the real man standing on a cracked sidewalk, holding a photograph and asking, without words, to be let back in. She stepped aside and held the door open. Marcus walked in. He sat at the kitchen table. Gloria poured him coffee in the chipped mug. He looked around the small apartment, the thin walls, the old furniture, the window overlooking the parking lot, and he saw it. He finally saw it. Not poverty, not embarrassment. He saw 20 years of love compressed into 400 square feet. He put his head in his hands and he wept. Gloria sat across from him. She reached over and placed her rough, cracked hand on top of his. She did not say, "I told you so." She did not say, "You owe me." She said, "Your coffee is getting cold." They sat together in the kitchen while the morning light came through the window and the sunflowers outside leaned toward the sun, and the world continued to turn in the way it always does, slowly, imperfectly, but forward. Nothing was fixed. Not yet. Trust is not rebuilt in a morning. Shame is not unlearned in a single visit. The road ahead was long and uncertain and full of conversations that would be painful and necessary. But he had come. He had walked through the door. And for Gloria, the woman with 2 alarm clocks and 3 jobs and 114,000 reasons to give up, that was enough to begin. She sipped her coffee and looked at her son and said the only thing left to say. Love is not something you earn by succeeding. It is something you honor by remembering. You can go as far as your talent takes you. You can build any life you want. But if you forget the hands that lifted you, you are not successful. You are just tall. And tall without roots is just waiting to fall. Marcus nodded. He held her hand tighter. Outside, the garden grew. He told the world he built himself. But every brick was mine. Gloria Reeves, age 57.